Hi everyone, I am Pulkit Jain from Bennett University, and today we will discuss the closure properties of context-free languages. So, the closure properties of CFL. Closure properties are operations on context-free languages that are guaranteed to produce another context-free language. So, the context-free languages are closed under substitution, union, concatenation, clean closure, reversal, homomorphism, and inverse homomorphism. We will see what all that is in the coming video. But the CFLs are not closed under intersection, complementation, and set difference. But the intersection of a context free language and a regular language is also a context free language. We will see that what it all means. Okay, so number one, substitution. What is substitution? Each symbol in the string of one language is replaced by an entire context-free language. So we have a context-free language, and every symbol in that language is replaced by an entire another context-free language. Okay, so what is the use of substitution? It is useful in proving some other closure properties of CFLs. Okay, we will see how can we prove that and what is the theorem. So if a substitution S, so S is a substitution function, and it assigns a context-free language to every symbol in the alphabet of a context-free language L, then SL is a CFL. So the language that comes after the substitution is a substitution function or acting over the language L, the output is also a context-free language. So the proof of the theorem is let G be a context-free language. G is the grammar of a context-free language, which with the variables V, the input alphabet, sigma, P are the productions, and S is the start symbol. And GA be the grammar for each A belongs to sigma. Okay, so for each A belongs to sigma with V intersection VA is equals to 5. So the GA, the grammar is VA are the variables, PA are the terminal, P are the portions, and SA are the start symbol. And G dash will be the grammar for the language that comes after the substitution. And we can say that the V dash, T dash, P dash, and S dash are the elements of the grammar. So what will be V dash? V dash will be the V, the variables of the grammar G, and VA, the variables of the language of each element of the language L. We will see that what it means, don't worry. And T dash is the union of all the terminals for the language A, the substitution of the language A. P dash consists of all productions. Just a second. In any PA for A belongs to sigma, and productions of P, each terminal A is replaced by C. Let's see an example. We will understand better by using an example. So suppose L is a context-free language with 0 to the power n, 1 to the power n, and m is written equal to 1. So the number of zeros and ones are equal, and by the grammar S is the start symbol, 0 S1 0 1. Okay, and S0. So the substitution function is acting on the symbol 0, and the language we will get is A to the power n, B to the power m, and m is less than or equal to n. So it is generated by the grammar S tends to A is B or A, and A gives AA or AB. So this grammar will generate this language. And S1, the substitution function acting on the symbol 1, will gives us the language AB, ABC. We are considering these languages, and these are generated by the grammar S tends to AB, AA, and A gives C or epsilon. Okay, so now we have to substitute the 0 and 1 with these languages. Okay, so you can see that the symbol is substituted by a whole another language. So to do this, first of all, what we will do, we will rename the second and the third S to S0 and S1 respectively. We are doing this because the star symbol cannot be same. Okay, so we are renaming the star symbol to remove the discrepancies, and rename the second A to B because the variables can also not be same, as we saw that V intersection VA is equals to 5. Okay, so we rename the second variable to B. We can easily do that, right? So the resulting grammars are S tends to 0 S1 or 0 1, S0 gives A S0 B or A gives AA AB, and S1 gives AB B, B gives C or epsilon. So in the first grammar we replace 0 by S0 and 1 by S1, right? 0 by S0 and 1 by S1, because this 0 symbol is replaced by this entire grammar. Okay, and this 1 symbol is replaced by this entire grammar. Okay, so the combined grammar will be, the variables will be S, S0, S1, A and B, and the terminals will be A and B, and the productions will be P dash, the P dash are here, and the start symbol will be S. Okay, so what will be the P dash? So P dash will be S gives S0, S, S1, because 0 is replaced by S0 and 1 is replaced by S1. And S0, S1, S0 gives A, S0, B, A gives A, B, S1 gives A, B gives C, and epsilon. So as you saw that we can generate a whole context-free grammar by using substitution. So we can say that yes, substitution is closed under context-free language, because the context-free grammar is the generator of the context-free language, right? Okay. Now, what are the applications of the substitution? So, with the help of substitution, we can prove the closure of union of context-free languages L1 and L2. We can also prove the concatenation of context-free languages L1 and L2. We can also prove the clean star or clean positive closure of context-free languages, and we can also prove the homomorphism of context-free language Li for every I belongs to sigma. But we can see we will see what does that mean. Okay, so let's go to union. So we will go with an example, right? Suppose L is a language where the elements with the strings having A and B, and we substitute for A a whole language L1 and for B a whole language L2. So the substitution of the language L will be L1 union L2, right? So can we get a grammar for L1 union L2? Because if we got a grammar for L1 union L2, we say that the union is closed under context-free language, right? So what we can do, we can add a new start symbol S gives S1 or S2, and we can get a grammar VTPS where V equals V1 union V2 union S. V1 is the grammar, is the variables for the language L1, V2 are the variables for the language L2, and S is the start symbol, and S does not belong to V1 or V2. And P are the productions of P1 union P2 union S gives S1 or S2. Let's see an example. So suppose we have a language L1 and the language gives the equal number of A's and B's and N is greater than equal to 0, and another language L2 which gives equal numbers of B and C's and N is greater than equal to 0. So the grammar for language S1 will be A, S1B and epsilon, because N can be 0 also, and for the G2 the grammar will be S2 gives B, S2, C or epsilon. Now the grammar for the L1 union L2 can be, we saw that V1 union V2, the variables of the language G1 and G2, so S1, S2 and the start symbol S, like as we saw here, and the terminals of the language L1 and L2, so A, B and C, the productions P and the start symbol is S. So what are the productions? Production of the P1 union P2, the productions of language L1, productions of language L2, and S gives S1 or S2. So we can easily generate a grammar for the union of two languages. So we can say that yes, the union is closed under context-free languages, right? Now let's see concatenation. So we will take an example. So suppose L equals to AB as a string in a language L, and the L is context-free language, and the substitution on the element A gives the language L1, substitution on element B gives the language L2, then the substitution of language L will give L1, L2. So can we generate a grammar for the language L1, L2? We can generate by, these are the methods why we can generate a grammar. So we will add a new start symbol, S gives S1, S2, and we will get a grammar VTPS, and the outputs are the same as we got in the union part, except that the start symbol will be S gives S1, S2 instead of union part. So let's see an example for this. So suppose L1 is a language with equal number of A and B's, and the grammar is A, S1, B as we saw earlier. L2 is another language with equal number of B and C, and the grammar is S2 gives B, S2, C. Now what will the language for L1, L2? So it will be A to the power n, B to the power of n plus m, and C to the power of m. We have changed the symbols to remove the discrepancies, right? And n of m greater than equal to 0. Now we got this language, and can we generate a grammar for this language? We can generate, because the grammar G will be the start symbol S, the words will be start symbol S, S1 and S2. The terminals will be A, B, C, and the productions will be S gives S1, S2, and the productions for P1, the productions for P2, and the start symbol will be S. So we can generate a grammar for concatenation also. Therefore, we have proved that concatenation is closed under context-free languages. Now let's go to cleans star. So what is cleans star? Cleans star is the set of all languages, set of all strings that we can generate over a given alphabet. It will give an infinite set, right? So let's see how. Suppose L equals to A star is a language, or L equals to A plus. This is clean positive closure. It does not include epsilon, just this. And substitution of language A gives L1. Then substitution of language L will give L1 star, or substitution language L will give L1 plus. So let's say an example for this. Suppose L1 is a string with equal number of A and B's, and the L1 star will give the set of all strings of length 0 to infinite having equal number of A's and B's. So it can be A to the power 0, B to the power 0, or it gives epsilon, AB or A square, B square, and it will go till K, A to the power K, B to the power K, and K can be infinite. It is simply greater than equal to 0. So as these are the strings in the language L1 itself, they all belong to the language L1. Therefore, clean star is closed under context-free languages. It is trivial to prove it, right? And we can give another example L2 also, such that A to the power of n is greater than equal to 1, and the L2 closure will be A star. So what is A star? All the occurrences of A from 1 to infinite. Well, this should be A plus, because n is greater than equal to 1. It is a positive closure. Epsilon will not be a part of this, right? So we can get the grammar easily for the L1 star by just using S gives S, Sn, or epsilon. Epsilon for the L1 star, and if we do not want an epsilon, if this is positive closure, we can simply write plus here. Okay, and S1 will be the grammar for the language L1. So we will get a grammar VTPS. We will be V1 are the vertices of the language L1 union S, and P1 the productions of P1 union S gives S, S1 epsilon. So yeah, we can do this and get a language, right? Now let's move on to homomorphism. So we can prove the closure under homomorphism of context-free language L for every A belongs to sigma. So sigma is the set of all the alphabets over the language L. So suppose L is a context-free language over alphabet sigma. Sigma is the set of all alphabets, and H is a homomorphism on sigma. So you might know that homomorphism is the substitution of alphabets of a language L to some other alphabets. So a symbol is converted to some other symbol. Okay, so let S be a substitution that replaces every A belongs to sigma by HA, by homomorphism of A. We take the homomorphism of A and we replace the A in the language L by some other symbol, so that SA is equals to HA, right? So what will be the H of L? So H of L will be the homomorphism of A1, homomorphism A2, and homomorphism of all the symbols present in the language L. And K is greater than equal to 0, it is true. So what this language will become? This language will become equal to the substitution of the language L. If we take the language L and we apply a substitution function over it, then also every symbol will be converted to some other symbol, and we can prove that it will be equal to the homomorphism. And we know that substitution is closed under context-free grammar, so we can say that this homomorphism is also closed under context-free languages. Now let's move on to reversal. So we can prove that context-free languages are closed under reversals. We can easily do this. So it means that if L is a context-free language, then the LR, or we can say the reversal of the language L, is also a context-free language. So how can you do this? It is enough to reverse each production of a context-free language for L, that is substitute A gives alpha by A gives alpha reverse. We can see by this in example. So suppose L is a language having equal number of A's and B's, and the production will be S gives A as B or epsilon. We have epsilon here because N can be 0 also, right? So what will be the reverse of this language? So where LR will be B to the power n, A to the power n, and the production, we reverse the production by S gives B as A or epsilon. So we can see that this is also a context-free language, like equal number of B's and A's, just B will come earlier than A's. Okay, so hence we have proved that reversals are closed under context-free language. Now intersection. Intersection are not closed under context-free language. So let us prove this by a contradiction. So let L1 be a language having equal numbers of zeros and ones, and L2 be a language having equal numbers of ones and twos. L1 and L2 are context-free languages, and the grammars are L1 for the language L1, the grammar is S gives AB, A gives 0, A1, 0, 1, and B gives 2B or 2. For L2, we can say that this is the grammar. But if L1 intersection L2, it gives the equal number of zeros, equal number of ones, and equal number of twos. But we know that we cannot make a push-down automata for this language. Why? Because a push-down automata can only do one comparison. Like it can compare 0 with 1s or 0 with 2s or 1 with 2s, but it cannot do two comparisons. Like it cannot do the comparison of 0 and 1 with 2. So that's why you cannot make a push-down automata for it, hence it is not context-free. So the intersection of context-free languages is not context-free language, is not closed in the context-free language. Now let's move on with the set difference with a regular language. So if we have a context-free language L and a regular language R, then the set difference of L minus R is a context-free language. So what is set difference? Set difference is the difference between all the strings of the language L and all the strings of the language R. So we can prove this easily, like R is a regular language and RC, the complement of the regular language R, is also regular. It can be proved under the closure properties of context of regular languages. So what will be the L minus R? L minus R are the set of all strings that are in L but that are not in R. So the set of all strings that are not in R is R complement. The set of all strings that are not in R is R complement, and the set of all strings that are not in R and are in L is the L intersection R complement, right? And we can prove that the intersection of a context-free language and a regular language is a context-free language, and the complement of a regular language is also regular, and the intersection of context-free language and a regular language is a context-free language. Hence, we proved that the set difference with a regular language is a context-free language, is closed under context-free language. Next, we move on with complementation. So if we have a context-free language L, then the complement of the context-free language is not necessarily a context-free language. So mind the difference between a regular language and a context-free language. The complement of a regular language is regular language, but the complement of a context-free language is not a context-free language. So we can prove that easily. So assume that a context-free language are closed under complement, right? So we will prove this by a contradiction also. So if L is a context-free language, then the complement of L is also a context-free language. Since context-free languages are closed under union, we have proved that earlier. So we take two languages L1 and L2 and the complement of the two languages, and if we unite both of them, then it is also a context-free language. And by assumption, if we take the complement of this context-free language, it is a context-free language, right? But we know we can prove it by discrete mathematics that the complement of the union of the complements of two languages is L1 intersection L2, and we just showed that the L1 intersection L2 is not a context-free language. So this is a contradiction, and we have proved that complementation is not closed under context-free language, right? Next, we move with set difference. This is the set difference between two context-free languages. So suppose L1 and L2 are two context-free languages, then L1 minus L2 is not necessarily a context-free language. We can prove this easily. So suppose sigma star is the clean closure of the alphabet of belonging to sigma, or we can say the set of all alphabets, or strings belonging to sigma, and sigma star minus L are the set of all strings that do not belong to the language L. Sigma star is regular, we just proved it, and is also a context-free language. But what is sigma star minus L? It is the complement of the language L, right? So if CFLs were closed under set difference, then the complement of the language L would also be a CFL. But we just proved it that complement of a context-free language is not necessarily a context-free language. Hence, the set difference of two context-free languages is not a context-free language, because the sigma star is a context-free language, L is a context-free language, and the set difference is the complement of the context-free language, and it is not a context-free language. So we prove that it is not a context-free language. And the next is inverse homomorphism. So what is inverse homomorphism? So you know that if H is homomorphism and L is any language, then what is H inverse L? H inverse L is the set of all the strings W such that homomorphism of the string W belongs to the language L, right? So we take this string W and we apply the homomorphism and we get the elements that belongs to the language L, and L is a context-free language, and if L is a context-free language and the elements belong to L, then the CFLs are closed under inverse homomorphism. Like we have that grammar already in front of us, because L is a context-free language and H inverse L gives all the elements belonging to that context-free language. So we can write also a theorem that if L is a CFL and H is homomorphism, then H inverse L is a context-free language. H inverse L is the inverse homomorphism over the language L. So that was it. I hope you like it and you got to know about the closure properties of context-free languages. Thank you.